Hi everyone, and welcome to another video on the Casio CT-S1000. I'm also using a Casio CT-S1000V in this video. So I'm going to show you how to connect the two keyboards together via USB-Midi, and you'll only need an Android device and a USB hub with some USB cables. The usual method for connecting keyboards together in this way would be to use a PC and then from within a DAW such as Cubase or Ableton, set up the keyboards to communicate via the software. In this way, the PC is a host and the keyboards are devices. But we're going to avoid using a PC and connect the keyboards using an app running on an Android phone or tablet. Another option would be to use a dedicated piece of hardware called a USB-Midi host, such as the one made by Kenton in the UK. These are very robust and work with most compliant USB-Midi devices. They have a USB socket to connect to the keyboard and 5-pin MIDI in and out sockets through which the MIDI messages would flow. But you'd need one for each keyboard. You'd also need some USB and MIDI cables and a power supply for each Kenton box. So the alternative method is to use an Android app called MIDI Connector. There's a free version, so you can download that and check out if it works, and then a paid version which adds more functionality. The first thing to do is to connect USB cables from the keyboards to the USB hub. The CTX has a socket labeled to host and requires a printer type USB cable with a USB connector, and the CTS socket is not so easy to find, but it's a USB micro B socket and therefore requires a different type of USB cable. They both should have USB connectors on the end and plug straight into the USB hub. Your Android device may have different types of sockets. I need to convert the USB hub to a USB-C connector, and then it can plug into my Android tablet. Once we've made all the connections, we're all set to go. I've clamped the USB hub to the side of the CTS music stand so it can reach my Android tablet. I've also moved the keyboards so that the CTS is on top of the CTX and is going to act as the master keyboard, sending MIDI to the CTX. So here I've got the USB hub connected into the Android tablet, and then under Select Device Input, I'm going to select USB to available, and then I'm going to select one of these Casio options here. I'm not sure which is going to be for the CT-S1000. So let's just pick one. And if I play a few notes, you should see some controller messages, MIDI messages coming up on the screen. So we know that's the correct input. And at the moment you're hearing just the CTS and it's coming out from the left side of the stereo field. And then under Select Device Output, I'm going to select the other option for the Casio, and this will be the CTX keyboard. And now that's coming from the right-hand side of the stereo field. So this is just the CTX. If I take the volume down on the CTS, that's the CTX. And this is both keyboards together with MIDI passing through from the CTS into the CTX. I've also got an expression pedal that's connected into the CTS, and that will also control the CTX. So if I just move that, and you'll also see some data coming up on the screen. So I can control the volume of the CTX with the expression pedal. There's also a sustain pedal, and again MIDI messages will come up on the screen on the display. That's with sustain on. So any controls that I do regarding MIDI will pass through from the CTS into the CTX. So for instance, if I select some different tones from here, it will send out the messages, the patch numbers, and select the correct sound. So for instance, if we go to harpsichord, this is the harpsichord being triggered from the CTS and being played. The sound is coming from the CTX. I can add in the CTS sound as well. Or I can just have the CTX. Let's move to another sound. Let's go to a bass sound, synth bass. So this is just the CTX that you're hearing, and because on the CTS you've got these controller knobs that are on the keyboard, you again can send control messages. Can send the controller messages from the CTS into the CTX. So I'm just adjusting the cutoff. I can change the parameters that these control as well from the CTS. So let's do that. And if I go onto the knob page, so let's select knob number 2, and we'll adjust reverb send with this knob here. So there's no reverb on that CTX sound now. And again, I can bring in a little bit of this CTS sound. Which is panned over to the left-hand side of the stereo field. So I hope that gives you a good example of using an Android device such as a smartphone or a tablet as a MIDI host. Thanks for watching.